Words of Radiance is taking all the characters and all the world building that was the entirety of the first book and making all of them join to form the new Knights of the Round Table. The first half of the book stars the thief girl from the first book, who kind of had her own subjective story going off to the side, while Kaladin, Aladin, and Dalinar are going off to do their thing with Sadeas from the end of the first book. Unlike the first book, where Kaladin's quest for freedom was basically the main plot. I mean, there was like 16 plots in that book, but the main driving force was Kaladin trying to be freed from slavery. In this one, I would actually say Salon, who is the thief girl, her attempt to get to the capital is the main driving force for the first half of the book. Getting all of the characters into one place, and having Salon kind of grow into herself and wean herself off of her mentor was what the main half of the book. And I would say that this actually feels very slow for me. I felt like you could have removed some of the trip, you could have had some of the development happen in a faster pace. Compared to what happens later on in this book, and what happens early on in the Way of Kings, Salon's story is remarkably slow. I actually quite liked it, nonetheless. I liked her shenanigans, I liked her thievery, I liked her trickery, I liked her con artistry, as I did in the first book. But at the end of the day, in the middle of the book, that's when you start doing crazy stuff. And for that, my friend actually made a slideshow to show what they were feeling and things that they could compare to while they were reading the book, which is probably up in the corner here. Oh boy. When Adeline starts dueling folks, when the fight gets serious, when the war goes on, and when everything in this book builds up so fast. I mean, this is like a 1,200 page book, so fast is relative. But like the last 600 pages, I honestly thought like the entire series would build up to that moment. Now it's very much setting things up for the future. Like the first book ended with me understanding the world, me feeling immersed in the world, me understanding the characters and their significance there, and making a lot of guesses on what was going to happen. But that led to a political conflict in the second book. The second book ends with me hoping for like a world-changing event that's going to happen that's far outside of the politics that are here. I would expect crossovers to be present in future books with Brandon Sanderson and all of his other future, like, huge crossover event. This would be like the equivalent of a Marvel versus DC movie. That kind of bigness would be very welcome. And speaking of bigness, the power scaling in this is ridiculous. I mean, I guess not, because the very first thing that we see in the very first book is something with immense power, but by the end of the second book, holy crap, it feels like a lot of the characters have just gone Super Saiyan. Not that I'm complaining, it just took me by surprise. Whoa, this is one hell of a rush. Whew. The Skies Are Mine, that was brilliant, and so melodramatic. Holy crap. Whoa. So anyways, I'm actually like celebrating this more than The Way of Kings, and I love The Way of Kings. But no, this one tied it up in a bow. It felt more traditional than The Way of Kings. It felt less experimental, but I loved it anyways. I loved that all the characters that I grew to love in the first book are now here together. I really love the ending of this book, and despite its length, I will gladly recommend Words of Radiance to any fantasy fan who's willing to sit through a 1,000-page sequel, which in its own might actually be better in its own right. But, Words of Radiance really ties things together nicely. Keep up the good work. How the hell do you write one of these every 3 years, Brandon Sanderson? That is crazy. And man, you're gonna exceed War and Peace one of these days with one of these books. I think you're like 6 pages off. It's well worth it. Whew. Good job, and I can't wait to read the next one. It'll take me a while though. Goodbye, everyone. The night brings your dreams to play, keeps your fears at bay, reveals your Excalibur for when you begin the day.